Helljumpers, Chapter 3, Home. With a thunderous noise, the Pelican dropship took off from the plaza square and started gaining altitude at an alarming speed. Scootaloo, having a front row seat, was gawking at the speed of the metal craft. A few moments earlier, it had breached the sound barrier, and now she was pretty sure that she was flying faster than Rainbow Dash. The pilot called out from the cockpit to Mac.
Hey, Mac, mind explaining why I'm ferrying two horses up to the dawn?
Twilight groaning and then calling out to the pilot.
Ponies, not horses.
Immediately after which, the dropship made a small bump.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mac, why the fuck am I carrying two ponies that can talk up to the dawn?
A mix of anger and curiosity in her voice. Zoe, meet Twilight and Scootaloo, Mac told the pilot, grinning widely. Our residential mythical alien creatures.
Mac, I want an explanation. The quick version, please.
The pilot now clearly in an annoyed state. There were a whole bunch of aliens out to kill humanity, so Zoe understandably a bit apprehensive about taking two live ones onto an active warship. We found the kid, shot it, the purple one came across us along the way to the objective. We got the purple one to come with us since it wanted the kid. Then the purple one saved Lucy by blowing out one of the brains of a zealot, and we headed to the extraction. Taking a deep breath after having said all that, Mac added, No, they're not Covenant, they're a third party, and yes, they speak English. The pilot stared blankly at Mac and then the two ponies before reacting.
Okay, I'm calling the dawn. We're gonna need to set up a quarantine.
The pilot was clearly annoyed at the fact that now she would probably be stuck in quarantine for a day. She soon activated the comms.
Stalwart Dawn, this is Starfire. Do you copy?
Moments later, the Dawn reacted to Starfire's hail. Starfire, this is Stalwart Dawn. What's the matter? You're still 20 minutes out, Starfire. The radio operator confused to why the Pelican would contact the frigate while still being out that far.
Dawn, you need to set up a quarantine zone. The boys brought two aliens from downstairs.
After reporting this, the radio remained silent for a moment before a new voice sounded over the radio. Starfire, this is Captain Ross. Did you say two aliens?
Affirmative, sir. Apparently they're not Covenant.
A full minute passed before the captain responded over the radio. We're readying the medbay for a temporary quarantine. Sergeant, if this stunt doesn't pay off, I'm court-martialing you. Dawn out. Well, that could have gone worse. Tyler looked relieved. He's only gonna court-martial you if this goes south.
Are you going to get in trouble because of us now?
Twilight asked Mac, concerned for the human. Don't worry about me, I've had worse, but I think we should tell you a bit more about our world since you seem completely unaware of our current state of affairs, Mac said, sighing and thinking up a condensed line of events of the war, the mood in the Pelican visibly dropping as the other humans already knew what was coming. So, alright. 27 years ago, humanity made first contact with an alien compact made up from several species. Initially, attempts were made at peaceful first contact, but the leadership of the Covenant deemed us a blight upon the galaxy and started a war of genocide. Stopping to look over at the ponies, who both had a look of slight disgust, but listened attentively, Mac, taking a deep breath, continued. The first strike came from the Covenant at a harvest, a human colony dedicated to farming. It was completely destroyed, surface burned to glass by the plasma weapons of the Covenant ships. The ponies now both had horrified expressions on their faces.
They destroyed the entire planet?
Twilight asked, her eyes wide and her hooves over her muzzle. Yeah, and it wouldn't be the last world to face the same fate. We used to have about 900 worlds populated to some degree. Now, we only have a handful left. Tears forming in Mac's eyes as memories resurfaced.
900? How many?
Scootaloo stammered as she was cut off by Lucy.
18 billion, spread out over about 850 worlds.
The next minutes were completely silent, other than the humming from the ship itself. The ponies in shock at the staggering amount of casualties the human had led. Equus didn't even have 100 million sentient creatures living on it, almost 200 times less than what the humans had lost. Twilight's head reeled at the numbers, gaining a bit of understanding of why these humans would have no problem killing the aliens. If they wouldn't, well, they would all die. The radio cracking to life as the dropship approached the frigate. Starfire, get on board fast. We're detecting a new cluster of Covenant ships entering the system. Moments later, the radio activated again. At least 4 capital elements. We're bailing and we don't have the firepower to deal with a fleet that size. Zoe communicated further with Dawn as she made her approach. Twilight, on the other hoof, was a bit shocked at the revelation that they were abandoning the colony.
Mac, if you have so few colonies left, then why are we just leaving this one for the Covenant?
Like the captain said, we don't have the firepower in the system, and we evacuated a large amount of civilians as possible already. We could stay and fight, but that would only delay the inevitable in addition to us dying. None of us like it, but in this case, we live to fight another day. The moment the Pelican landed in the hangar bay, the occupants of the dropship were greeted by humans in white suits.
If everyone could follow us to the medbay, we have a section locked down for quarantine,
one of the suited humans said. The medbay was a set of interconnected set of rooms with white walls and machines the ponies didn't recognize. As they entered the doors behind them, they were locked, sealing the group off from the rest of the ship. A female human with her hair in a knot and a white coat walked up to the group.
So, Sergeant, what type of alien did you take with you? Grunts? Elites? The only thing I've heard is that we're getting a visit from 2 aliens.
A Pegasus and an alicorn, Mac deadpanned. You know, from mythology.
Mac, I'm really not in the mood for
She stopped as Twilight and Scootaloo entered the room, an uncomfortable silence falling over the group.
Hello?
Scootaloo being the first to break the silence.
I'm Scootaloo. What's your name?
Holding out her hoof to the doctor.
What? Oh, yes, hello, I'm Catalina Melton. But just call me Cat or Doc.
Catalina was suddenly overly happy.
And, who are you, miss? Twilight Sparkle. A pleasure to meet you. And yes, we're both mares.
Twilight shaking her hoof at the doctor.
So, I take it that you want to do some medical studies?
Twilight is eager as ever to do some science with these humans.
Yes, please. Follow me. I want to take a few blood and tissue samples and perform a full body scan on both of you.
Both Twilight and Catalina happily moved to a scanner in another room as Scootaloo looked up at Mac.
Should I be worried?
The ODST let out a hearty laugh. Yeah, you probably should. Ponyville was a disaster zone. When the portal in the library collapsed, the resulting explosion had severely damaged the surrounding buildings. Luckily, no pony died in the explosion. A few ponies had been hit with shrapnel and had been stuck in their houses. Spike also got lucky. His dragon physique took most of the beating as his scales are nearly indestructible and fireproof. No, the worst damage was done to the library itself as it was almost completely destroyed. The initial portal destroying the ground floor, and the explosion and subsequent fire destroyed nearly the entire tree. But for Rainbow Dash, none of that really mattered. She had been searching nearby settlements for any sign of her adopted sister and her best friend.
Scootaloo? Twilight?
Taking passes over portions of the ghastly gorge before heading back to Ponyville, she was gonna visit Spike at the hospital with the other elements after he was knocked unconscious at the library. Coming to a stop at Ponyville's hospital's front gate, a place that she was all too familiar with, stepped in to be greeted by her 4 other friends. To her surprise, both princesses were also present.
Hello, Rainbow Dash.
Princess Celestia greeted.
I take it from the look on your face that the search of your friends had not turned up with any results.
An unusual sadness coming from her voice.
No, nothing. They must have teleported a long way away,
Rainbow said dejected. Twilight and Scootaloo had not shown up in any of the nearby towns.
You might be right, young Pegasus.
Luna cut in.
We have not been able to locate my sister's student in the dream world either. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, they wouldn't be asleep.
AJ asked Luna.
A common misconception, My Little Pony. Although when a pony is asleep, their mind fully merges with the dream world. A pony that's awake, at least, still has a presence in the dream world. Twilight Sparkle and Scootaloo Hurricane both completely disappeared. So, they are so far away that they ain't showing up in the dream.
Applejack suddenly being cut off by Rainbow Dash.
Princess, did you just say Scootaloo Hurricane? As in the Commander Hurricane? Yes, we have found that our magic signature matches that of the old commander. His descendants always had magic attuned to storm clouds and lightning. But that is irrelevant, since it's actions that make a pony, not their ancestors.
The princess lectured.
Now, we have a dragon to visit,
she added as the group arrived at the room Spike was staying in. Spike immediately brightened up as the group entered, but he turned to a frown as he saw the dejected faces and a distinct lack of purple.
Where's Twilight?
Worry evident in his voice.
Spike, darling,
Rarity getting cut off by Spike.
Where is Twilight?
he shouted.
We have no idea, Spike. We don't even know if she's alive,
Celestia admitted. I need some paper, ink, and a quill, Spike said, getting some confused looks from the elements in the room.
Spike, darling, I know you're upset, but what good is that going to do?
Rarity asked Spike. I can send her a letter. I don't need to know where she is. She just needs to be alive to receive it, Spike explained. It's not like I know exactly where Princess Celestia is every time I send her a letter.
That's actually a good idea. If you would allow it, I would like to send a letter to my student and fellow princess,
Celestia said.
Spike, is it okay if I can write a letter to Scootaloo?
Rainbow asked without her usual bravado.
I'd really like to make sure that she is okay.
A few minutes later, Rainbow and Princess Celestia finished their letters and handed them to Spike. Moment of truth. I hope you're well, Spike said as he blew fire onto the paper, which promptly incinerated itself into black smoke.
Yes! Oh, she is alive!
He shouted as everyone except Dash let out a sigh of relief. Now for Scootaloo, taking another deep breath as he let out another flame, also incinerating the scroll. Another wave of relief came over the ponies as the scroll flew away to its intended recipient. Princess, did you ever teach Twilight how to send messages to me? Spike asked Celestia, whose face turned to a scowl.
No, she still has to gain more alicorn magic to emulate dragon magic, so we essentially only have one-way communication. At least we know that they're still alive,
Rainbow said, missing her honorary sister. They had set up this wicked training schedule to try and get her to fly, but that all would have to wait now. She just hoped that both her and Twilight would be okay.